Hey guys, Andy N, spoken label, back in the house on a Sunday afternoon. Yeah, I've got a very, very busy day today, but that's all. Follow my social media, so we'll come on to that later. Now, we're off to a part of the world I've not been to before, actually, today, but I'm expecting it's a fair bit warmer than it is in England at the moment because it's freezing around here again. I thought it was going to snow last night again. We're over to Turkey today. Now, the lady with us today is obviously not from Turkey, as you might have guessed from the accent. But I've been fascinated to talk to this lady for a couple of weeks now. We have the amazing Sophia with us now. Sophia, obviously, now you've a lot to talk about with yourself today here. Now, people obviously research you, they will see. We're here today to talk about your fiction series, but there's much more to talk about you as well. So I want you, first of all, to take us back in time. Tell people where you were originally from and what started you off in your creative journey.
So originally, I'm from the United States. I was born in Florida, spent half my time in Chicago, half my time in California. And I was a corporate lawyer by education and by trade. And I feel like I've lived basically, I'm on the path of living nine lives, probably on my fifth or sixth, optimistically, she says. And I started in midlife to really follow my heart, which led me to stop practicing law and pursue travel as well as natural health and wellness. And I guess I had always kind of wanted to be a writer, but as a younger adult, I was worried that no one would care what I had to say. And I think it was Oscar Wilde who said, just having something to say, that's reason enough to write. And so I started writing, and I've basically been doing that for the past several years. I write across genres. I have an uplifting memoir about overcoming various traumatic challenges throughout life, which we all have, and also a holistic wellness guide, which I call KISS, as in Keep It Simple, Sweetheart, because I want holistic wellness to be accessible to all of us. And then the thing that I'm most happy about doing is writing a fiction series, a novel series, and it's based on my life. And it's funny because I originally thought that I would have it completely finished a couple of years ago, and I write so prolifically that it's now spawning like 9 ebooks. And I really enjoy doing that, and that just kind of flows. And it's based on my life, but it also has aspirational aspects of it. And that's what keeps me busy. I'm actually writing a screenplay based on the first novel.
Wow. Oh, wow. Wow. Now, I'm going to ask you, let's ask you about that now then, okay, before we go any further then, because obviously when you're doing a screenplay, the books themselves are brilliant. I've read the first two in your romance series, shall we say. What I'm curious to know is about, in an ideal world, do you have any sort of dream casting in the books?
Oh, I love that you asked that. I love that you asked that. It's funny because I'm writing right now on the debut novel, which is Sicilian Seductions, which is Italian. But I have definitely thought of, I'm obviously the protagonist, and my best friends play supporting roles throughout. So we have definitely thought about them. We definitely have thought about them. I'm almost embarrassed to say. My best friend who supports me like no other is already picking out her, outfit for, Oscars.
Oh, yeah, no, of
And I'd be
course.
very curious as to what other people would think in terms of casting.
Yeah, oh, I'm hopeless at that stuff, John. With you. I'm really hopeless. Now, I've told you off mic already, and I'm going to say this because I don't care, right? But Amanda's got another book out, my wife soon, called Deaf to All Men, and she's already cast the male lead in it is Alan Richman, who's most famous for playing Jack Reacher. 'Cause
Oh, wow.
she wants Jack Reacher in a book.
And I love that because it really helps you as you're
Yeah,
writing,
yeah.
imagine it and envision it. I think it's a great way to do it because we obviously like feel it in our souls, and to be able to imagine it helps the writing.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I mean, so again, if you do like you've got a good vision of a character in your head,
Hmm.
it makes fascinating. But I just thought maybe Smile she told me that one a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, that's why. But yeah, no, obviously, um, before we go into your fiction books, obviously, I want to talk a little bit more about the Kiss books you've done, your non-fiction books. Now, obviously, like I said, you've done a lot of books. If people go and research you actually on Amazon, for example, I think there's 17 books on there if my memory's correct. And obviously it's about half and half. So
Mhm.
how does your brain operate writing between two completely different genres?
Good question. I get up every morning and I have a stream of consciousness kind of persona, and I'm constantly thinking. I'm constantly thinking of new things, and it kind of almost takes me down a rabbit hole. So, as much as I loved learning with the nonfiction books, my memoir was obviously, very easy to write. But the others, with all the references, because it was really important to me to I preach what I practice, but I wanted to make sure that everything was scientifically based because that's how I operate. If I can understand the how and why of different things, it makes me more likely to be disciplined and follow them. So it's very important to me that I not just talk about what I did that worked for me, but that I actually understood the reasons why it worked. So, I have a weight loss book called Eat the Cupcake, and I have 100 pages of references in that. I did Mastering the Art
Wow.
of Stress. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so I get up every day and I'm reading like National Institutes of Health, and again, that like just sends me down different, like, what about this? What about that? Because I want to completely understand that. So, frankly, that can be kind of exhausting. It's a great learning experience. It's great for neuroplasticity. I really love to learn new things every day. I feel like I'm at my sharpest in life because I'm doing that. I'm a corporate lawyer, and yet my passion is in researching the natural health. So I really internalize whatever it is that I'm reading. So it's it's fascinating, it's motivating, but it's also kind of fatiguing. So the fiction series is a much needed relief from that. Like I'll take a walk and I'll just be writing dialogue in my head. So it is a much different process, and I was actually surprised when I first started out. I just thought that I was going to be doing like a Mediterranean lifestyle and holistic wellness kind of stuff. And I never expected to do the novel series. And I had always thought that maybe I'd write about my life because it's been kind of interesting and in so far as it's been unconventional. Um, and I've lived, kind of on the path of 9 lives. So I thought eventually I would do that one day. And then I just really embraced the fiction because, I think that books can change lives. And so I really like to share actual insights in terms of holistic wellness and then do it in a more lighthearted, entertaining, engaging way through the novel series, which is basically kind of like an Eat, Pray, Love or Under the Tuscan Sun, like a personal transformation combined with the graduate, embracing simple pleasures instead of like the materialism and capitalism with like a little sizzle of 50 Shades of Grey, if you will. I'd actually used AI several years ago and typed in like what, oh, no, sorry. I had read like a Guardian article and it said, what is the Oscar winning movie? And it asked AI. And whatever it spit back, I read it and I shared it with my best friends. And they're all like, that's kind of your life. I'm like, oh, maybe I should write about it then. So that's what actually catapulted me to writing the novel series.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, obviously, like I said, 40, I know there's a few in the series already, and if people go and look at your Amazon page, you're bringing it out in a very unorthodox way, but we'll come on to that in a moment. But I've read the first two, Sicilian Seductions. Oh, God, that's raunchy. Then you get Turkish Temptations. It's
It
even
gets
more
raunchier.
suggestive. Yeah, but it's people wondering it's not in my genre at all. But I love these first two books. What you were really good at with them, Sophia, was the fact was it was the colour and it came alive really, really well in both books. It did. And did you obviously plan to write these? Because these are people are looking. These are short, snappy books. So, how long did it take you to write a book on average? These were they quite quick to write when you get into them?
Yeah, it's funny, and I really appreciate your commentary. And I was hesitant to write the more explicit scenes, if you will, but I think that you would agree with me that it's not gratuitous. It's in line with the character's development
Yeah.
and her struggles, the protagonist's struggles. So when I first started writing, I thought that I was going to write. I was highlighting a number of my favorite countries, and I thought I was going to write one book and it would be done a couple of years ago. And I just kept writing and writing and writing, and so I realized it had to be multiple ones. And one of the things I love most about writing is exposing people to the different cultures I've been blessed to be immersed in. So now it's a multi-part series because it spans Italy, Sicily obviously is part of Italy, but I have Sicily and then I have mainland Italy later. I have Spain, I have France, I have Turkey, I have Greece, and I have Montenegro. And for the most part, I highlight some of the better known touristy destinations like
Hmm.
Istanbul and Seville, but I gravitate towards, hidden gems under the radar places that I want to share with other people. And so I usually am talking about those places that a lot of people have never even heard of, and to me are like near and dear to my heart. So I think I want to share those because I don't want them to get too overrun. Where actually at now, I've been writing for International Living, the travel magazine. I'm like, oh, maybe I should be talking about this place because too many people are coming. It's no longer a secret.
And that's interesting that you're writing for Travel Magazine because if people read the first, certainly the first two books, it does feel like, and you've not overdone it, where it's definitely it feels like it's a travel log, but it's brought to life with characters. And I think that's very skillful because like when you do setting it in other countries and stuff, there's a lot of traveling involved. It
Mm-hmm.
can easily get overdone, and it's really colourful and really comes to life. So
I
but
appreciate that. And I not only did I want to expose people to the countries themselves and the culture, but I tried to weave in different philosophical movements and different art movements. And growing up, like geography and history, it just wasn't my forte. And yet, delving into these places where I'm living and breathing, the art and the history and the architecture, etc., it's really changed my life. It's the essence of my life now, and so I really hope to expose other people to that, and entice them and have a little escapism in there. I actually submitted my synopsis to Harlequin Romance. I don't know if you're familiar with that or if that's
yeah,
just more.
I've got a
So
story about them. I'll tell you about off
so
camera later on.
so like I grew up reading those things, and I sent my synopsis because I really wanted to have like mass appeal. And so I sent my synopsis to them and they're like, we think you have too much substance. It was like, oh, thank you. Actually, I do too. So I was happy to be, turned down from them. So I think of my series as, a love story plus. It has a lot of substance, and it's a love story, not just in the romantic interlude sense, but also like self-love and celebration, of friendships and love of nature and love of simple pleasures, etc. So I really pour my heart and soul into it. And I'm thrilled when I get um, reactions from people.
Yeah, no, of course you do. It's when you throw your heart and soul into a book, and this is an important thing for people to realize as writers. You can often tell, and you've read enough books, yourself, Sophie, when someone's not put the heart into a book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think of these books are vital, really, 'cause you tell they mean something to you. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's important for anybody to read as a writer. And that's why, but when obviously people are wondering, there is a number of books in this series. And I'll let you explain to people the way your brain works in a minute, because you made me laugh off camera before with this, what they were in relation to the order. But when did you realise you've got, so obviously there's five out at the moment, and there's more to come. When did
Mm-hmm.
you realise you want to write about nine in this series?
So again, quite funny. I thought I was writing one book, and I started writing it, and I had um, I knew the end. I knew the way it was going to transverse, and the protagonist like takes a step forward and two steps backwards, and it does mirror my life. And again, I wanted to highlight different life challenges and relationship issues and whatnot that we all experience in an insightful and engaging way to try to help people along their journey. I mean, I think the greatest journey often that we can take is the one within ourselves. And that's what's actually playing out within my books. And so I started realizing that I had a kind of not formula per se, but each book, again, it pretty much explores, under the radar hidden gems. And it's Sophia, the protagonist, her journey. And at the end of each book, she always ends up in nature, contemplating by herself, even though she has all these relationship dynamics. And throughout, one of my favorite parts of the whole series is the celebration of friendship, which is near and dear to my heart because my friends have been everything to me, my treasure throughout my world. And I think that a lot of romance series won't necessarily focus on that aspect. And to me, it's been very transformative in my life. And I wanted to share that aspect of it because I think that that's something that doesn't give enough attention, how important friendships are as opposed to romantic relationships. So even though it's like a love story romance, it's a lot about, self-love and treasured friendships. And so I just realized I had so much to say about all these various countries, and their cultures and the learnings, that it just ended up spanning a much longer, a multi-part series than I had expected. And the way my brain works, since I knew how the story was going to go, I wrote the first novel, and then I think I wrote the fifth one because I wanted different countries to reflect different experiences and learnings that Sophia was having. And so if my heart felt like, being in one country, I just went for it. So I wrote them out of order. I wrote like the first, then the fifth, then maybe the second, then the fourth. And I keep saying I'm going to finish the third, which I will do very soon. And then, move on to, I'll have three more after that. And I just really love sharing my experiences with people.
Yeah, it's great because the books all stand alone, really. I think the two books I've read so far. And what you
Yeah, I
made me
appreciate
smile
that.
was, it's great to go and have the guts to admit this today. Like the first two were out, and then people look at an Amazon, you see book three's not out yet, but book four, five, and whatever are
That's the
out as
way
well.
that's the
Yeah,
way this brain works.
it's great because it's an individual way of thinking with it. I think it f flows really well from you, it does, and you can tell that.
I
Now,
appreciate that. And I have a stream of consciousness, and that's definitely reflected in the books. I mean, anyone who reads my books, I'll be the first person to admit, probably someone's gonna be like, oh, these need edited. And I'm like, I know, but it's who I am. It's who I am in my words. And I think words are like written music, or, like an artist paints on a canvas. I'm trying to paint a picture through my words. And I appreciate you saying that they can kind of be standalone because, I feel that way too.
it's great because I think what you've done is, like I said, certainly in the first two again, I'll keep referring to is the fact is like you're right, at the end of the books, the character is by herself contemplating. It's almost like you've gone from the standard thing at A to B to C, and then D is the,
Mm-hmm.
the epilogue where she's looking back of what she's done and
Mm-hmm.
learned from that book in question.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a great perspective, and I think it flows really, really well with it that way. So yeah,
I
no, I agree
appreciate
with you.
that.
Yeah, good points indeed. So yeah. Now, obviously, when you've got these nine books done, for example, do you envisage yourself writing more in fiction world, or are you not sure yet?
Yes, my next series will be more, true to my life.
Hmm.
Like this series is, or I'm sorry, for fiction, I do like capsulating in fiction so that I can play with reality. So even my own story, I would like to do it in a fictional setting. It just makes me happier to highlight. I like to highlight the highs, versus the lows. I like to highlight the lessons. And I think with imagination and with fiction, we're able to do that more. Um, it's like the truth is stranger than fiction, but we can take charge, of how things play out in fiction. And so it will be like when I first quit my job as a lawyer, I moved to Argentina. I don't have any of South America in my novel series. So I would like to explore another part of the world, with different challenges, life's challenges and relationships. So again, I just really like writing. I think it's aspirationally and it really flows. And even though different characters are based on an amalgamation, which I assume that every fiction writer has, a lot of inspiration from reality and then just kind of runs with it as he or she chooses to do. And I enjoy doing that. It's empowering, it's liberating, it's cathartic.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. Do it. I think in anything you do as a writer, you've got to have an element of yourself in the book, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
direct or not. But have you found that obviously doing this series of books, has you think have you learned something about yourself as a person?
Oh yes, definitely. When I wrote my memoir, that was very cathartic, but in a more painful way. And the lessons that I didn't actually learn in life, I feel like I've learned as I am writing the novel series. And I don't want to give out, any spoiler alerts, but I have twins in the Sicilian Seductions. I mean, I don't have twins. I'm sorry, there are twins in Sicilian Seductions. That was probably a Freudian slip. And I didn't realize it until after I wrote it. The little girl is little me,
Oh,
which was,
whoa.
yeah, yes. And I actually have, if anyone's interested, I also have, you know, like book club questions, but I didn't realize it as I was writing it. So it was very healing to me, and very cathartic. And I was able to shine light on that, you know, inner child, without even realize I was doing it. So I find the writing process extremely fascinating. You definitely learn a lot about yourself that you don't know.
Yeah, that I can believe that. I can believe that. I agree with you. Like it's, I think everything you do when you're being creative, there is a learning curve on it from beginning to end, straight
Mm-hmm.
away with it. Has there been anything that surprised you in the creation of these books and really?
I think just, you know, the realization that, you know, for instance, in the last, I think it's number 6 or whatever, French Rendezvous, I write about the Picasso Museum that I visited in Antibes. And at the time, I remember visiting it and I thought, not really for me. And now, like with researching and writing, I have a different appreciation for every creator because I try to understand the inspiration for that creator, whether it's art or writing, you know, painting, whatever it is, you know, sculptures. Getting into the head of that creator has given me a different perspective to where maybe visually something didn't appeal to me before, or like I delve into surrealism in, I guess it's the fourth, in my Orcan dreams. And, you know, I'm like a huge fan of delving into the subconscious and dreams. And so I did learn writing every single book, or different philosophical movements. I write about Stoicism in the Greek one, which is like much later. I write about Buddhism throughout. And so each book was an invitation to me to explore things that had been maybe superficially of interest to me before, like surrealism and Picasso. Like I've always been into Buddhism, and really helped me delve more profoundly into those things of interest. And so I feel like writing fiction has made me a much more interesting, enlightened human being, which I never ever anticipated that to happen. I thought that I was just going to be kind of writing my thing. And so I have a much more appreciation for things. And I've always appreciated simple pleasures, but like literally writing it that way has made me internalize it even more. Or I have various healing modalities throughout the book, like heart coherence and meditation. And as I'm viewing it, you know, through the lens of the protagonist, I feel it even more profoundly, which has been hugely, it's been a huge surprise writing these, how much it has impacted me intellectually and spiritually,
Yeah,
emotionally.
I can see that. I think it does. It's like writing. Sometimes you're doing this sort of stuff. It sneaks up on you as a person, and you can be like, I've done this myself for pieces, and I'm sat down afterwards, sat thinking, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean, I can read my fiction, and you know, it will bring tears to my eyes, and it helps me realize, you know, how far I've come as an individual. And I really do want to inspire people. I mean, the whole series is pretty much a, second chance of life, you know, embracing the unknown, realizing that magic happens in the uncertainty. And we all go through various, you know, trials and traumas, etc. And if you can have the right perspective and, you know, focus on the present, be looking forward to the future, etc., it can really make your life, I always say, and I say it throughout the novels, rest of life, best of life. And writing it has really helped me profoundly believe that.
No, I can believe that straight away. It does. It's. Do you look back at and there's a good question for you this one, Nick. I'm full of philosophical questions today. But do you look back at the way your life was before this, and do you think to yourself, wonder why didn't you do this before? 'Cause I think you do sometimes,
Oh
don't you?
God. Oh God,
God,
yes.
we're in deep mode today, people. We are in deep
Oh
mode.
yes, you know, and that's pretty much the whole lesson. The whole lesson of the book, and the message is to follow your heart, to follow your heart and to live authentically. And my whole life I had objectively been successful, and I was always, you know, happy and resilient. But I wasn't following my heart, my dreams. I was satisfying other people's dreams and goals and aspirations. And the beauty, the freedom, the pure happiness that comes with following your heart is extraordinary. And that really is my message to everyone. Please don't wait as long as I did to do that. And people do, they fear the unknown, they fear the uncertainty. And that truly is where the magic happens. Follow your heart. That's the whole message. To
Yeah.
live happily ever now. The series is called Live Happily Ever Now. Like, let's not wait for after. I don't know what the hell that is, but I want it now.
Yeah, same for me because I started, well, I've been writing poetry all my life, one way or another. But I said I broke through my novels about 4 years ago now. And it took me 20 years, partly to find the courage to do it, but also
Yeah.
to manage to get the voice right. It was trying to find the right direction you need to go with it sometimes. And I think sometimes younger people do, sometimes you can, but not always. And like, if you get to our age, it's took us a bit longer in life, but now we're
Yeah.
on that road. We're straight bang down it, aren't we?
Well, and in my first book that I published, I've been writing others for some time. The memoir is called Roar. Like, find your voice. And I am um I am heartened by, I think that there are a lot of young creative artists out there, and with the way that things are today, I think that they can share their voice, easier. And I think that that's helping encourage people do that more. And so I hope that people are able to embrace that creative side of them, and not like me, in high school, think like, oh, my creative writing teacher was always so um complimentary, but I'm like, oh, he's being nice. Like, there's no future in that for me. And I hope people really embrace that, because it's a different way of living. It's a more multi-dimensional way of living when you embrace your creative side, when you allow yourself to be authentic. And just do it for yourself, whether you think someone else is going to be interested or not. Do it for yourself. Like, we need more creative passion in the world. I think that the world would be a different place.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah, I think you're dead right in that direction because you look at like when you get hearing stuff like I don't want to get too political here today in this podcast, but there's certain countries where it's like arts degrees aren't happening as much, and I think you're a great example here because it's like you're showing an example of just if you follow your dream,
Mm-hmm.
you may not make millions off it, but you're gonna have a rich and rewarding life in different ways. I'm sure I've done myself my own way, like I said to you. So you enjoy your life, and it's like you were telling me before, like it's where you're in Turkey today at the moment. You're going to Paris, you're going to France again soon, aren't you? So it's like who knows where that's going to lead you to your creativity next when you go to France.
Yeah, and it's funny because in ways I've like lost everything I've had throughout life, and yet it's the most enriched I've ever been. And I really, once I started traveling, that really opened my mind, my heart, my eyes, and just gave me a different perspective on life. And fortunately, I've kind of never gone back from that, and now I have the freedom. I have the freedom to do that. Follow my heart.
Yeah, I think it's important people to anybody to do that, and I think it's works really well for you. Like I said, it's although it must be weird when you speak to people from your previous life in America still, and they'll be thinking of like you do, 'cause your life grows in this direction with your creativity. It gets hard sometimes to look back at the way you were before sometimes. And I think that's your KISS philosophy, I think, works really, really well with that. And then, like, obviously, your fiction on top of it, like, your life's like, it feels to me like you're going at 300 miles an hour when everybody else's might be 20 or 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unconventional life, that's for sure. And I can't, ordinary has never resonated with me. I mean, ordinary is taken, and I don't call myself extraordinary in the like conflated way, but extraordinary, just to be different. And I think that so many children often struggle with being different, and different is where the brilliance lies, the happiness lies. Again, ordinary is taken. So I encourage more people to just be themselves and be authentic. And it's much healthier for mind, body, and spirit to be authentic. And I was living my life again, pretty much happy, but not doing anything that I wanted to do, which is kind of ludicrous when you think about it. If you're not meant to live your life the way you want to, compassionately, and lovingly, then what's the point? So it took me a long time to get there, but I'm happily there now.
Yeah, it does. It's like on some of the press stuff you sent over to me. I love the saying here where you encourage people to access strategies for holistic well-being. And it's important on your mental health and stress, like, because life is such a fast pace, you can easily get stressed out
Mm-hmm.
on it. And I love the saying you've got here is living the rest of your life as the best of your life, which is the journey you're on at the moment.
And I truly feel that. And writing when I was writing my memoir,
Hmm.
it was really good for me because I realized that despite various dark moments in history and traumas that we all experience, that I had always been fundamentally happy and resilient. And um, I came across heart coherence, and I ended up being trained in that because, again, for my holistic wellness, I really want to be accessible. And basically, it's like this gratitude ritual, if you will, positive regenerative feelings based on focusing on the heart. And we all have a heart, so it's completely accessible. And once you learn these simple techniques, I think it transforms your life mentally, emotionally, physically, behaviorally, with relationships, with your job, performance, everything. And so it's just amazing once we open our eyes and we open our hearts and we let ourselves be truly authentic, because I had always wanted to help people and work for a charity, and I was working a high paying job that wasn't personally fulfilling to me because I was trying to make my ex-husband happy. Well, that's just silly, and it's just nonsense, and I can help a lot more people be my authentic self than subjugating myself to one person's greedy materialism. It just doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
No, you do when it's obviously I'm not going the bad mouthing ex-partner's route here, of course, but yeah, I agree with you. It's when you're in that sort of relationship, and like I know I'm lucky because I've got a man and a wife, and we're like two peas of the same pod.
Yeah.
We've got that sort of look. Not everyone's got that same sort of relationship, and it's like I think to do what you've done here now is a brave move. To be honest, with you straight away to be the traveling person that you are, and then write all these fantastic little two different sort of, or three, including your memoir, the books the way you write. And it's like, it's still sort of experience when you get towards, we're both getting to our 80s, for example, you'd be able to look back at your life, won't you, thinking, now that's a
Oh
life.
yes,
That's a life.
for sure, for sure. And it's if I can touch one, like I tear up when I read reviews, for instance, of my memoir. Just real, books can change lives. Books have changed my life. I throughout my novel series and throughout my other books, I reference like the Dalai Lama or Helen Keller or Nelson Mandela. People have really been inspirational for me. And I'm not comparing myself to those people, but just following your heart is pretty a pretty simple way to find happiness. I think a lot of people find it elusive, and none of these things, mental well-being, physical health, they aren't that mysterious to me if you just get back to basics. Hence the keep it simple, sweetheart.
Yeah, that's all you need to do. And you need to do like it's, and then look like if you follow your dreams, this is what can happen to
Mm-hmm.
you. It's like not
Mm-hmm.
everyone has to live the 9 to 5 lifestyle. And I think doing what you've done here now, I said now is like you did like you obviously couldn't have envisaged the years that you've been traveling and stuff like that. You've done what 16 books now or 17 books, and then like you've got like you said, you got a screenplay on the go. So do you think the screenplay will get would you like us to get produced then would you? Or what's the
you
plans
know
are you
i
doing with that?
I would, and it's funny because nowadays, I think that the world is very different. I have a lot of
Hmm.
issues with our so-called advancements, and I think like social media isn't necessarily always social, and it seems like we're more disconnected. But I think that the playing field is much more egalitarian these days, and there are ways to access. So if you have, if my content is sufficiently good, I think that there are ways to access and get eyes on it to where years ago that would have never happened. It would have never happened. It was more of like, who you know. And independent films are definitely getting a lot more attention, and there are a lot more companies that are available to, whether it's through a contest, submitting a screenplay. I know that with all the different streaming services, there's a huge demand for content. And like I said, like years ago when I read that Guardian article, like what would make an Oscar winning play, I tried to kind of model my series, even though it's based on my life, off of that. So I think that there's potential for mass appeal, and it is a matter of getting it in front of the right eyes. And I think there are a lot more opportunities to do that now. And it's funny because my nephew visited me for a couple of weeks, and he just completed a semester in film school in Prague.
Hmm.
It's like we were like bouncing back ideas and
Wow.
stuff. So now like I have a it's kind of I'm so happy to have that. Like he had done a short film, and I loved watching it with him, like the exclusive premiere in Turkey with him, and understanding as the director and writer like his thought process. So it's something that we really have in common, and so like that's something I never expected to happen. So a lot of good can come from, again, the magic happens in the uncertainty.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. You know, you said what about your nephew? I've got a nephew myself who's 17, 18 this year somehow. And he stunned my sister, his mum, the other year by telling her basically he's writing stories. And she turned around and said to me, "Oh no, not another one in the family."
See,
But,
yeah, inspiration, right?
yeah, well, I'm not sure he should be this much the stuff I write. But again,
Yeah, no, I hear you.
but you never know, you never know. Yeah, but like I said, I think life is like if you can inspire somebody in just one little way like that, your journey's done, as far as I'm concerned. Because
Well, it's funny, I don't have children, and so I'm really particularly close to my nephews. And I started traveling to Turkey, I like in 2008, and at the time he was a young child, and he must have been talking to me. And my brother and sister-in-law called me, and they said that they had gotten a message on their answer machine from his teachers saying that he was going to be out of school for a week because he was going to Turkey. So that was like so many years ago,
fantastic,
and
oh,
he
fantastic,
manifested it. He ended up coming, so it was really, really special.
oh, it's fantastic. That was brilliant to hear that one indeed. So, well, that's pretty well all my questions here, to be honest with you, Sophia. So let's do the hard sell, okay? So obviously, first of all, if people want to get hold of you to speak to you about anything we've discussed today, where do you recommend they go?
My website would be the best place, mediterraneanme.org. And I love hearing from readers or people who are interested in coaching. I love doing different sneak peeks, and I would love if people like would want to introduce different places to write about or character names, etc. So mediterraneanme.org.
Yeah, definitely. They could suggest you to go to other countries to go and live in to get inspiration for, can't they? So we'll get you moving like to Greenland or something like that next, and then go in there in the middle of winter. Do a nice cold romance.
Uh-oh. I
Anyway,
hate the cold. So it definitely has to be a fireplace
yeah, we'll pick a warmer country then for you.
and mulled
Tunisia or
wine.
something like that. Tunisia then, actually, it's not that far away from where you are.
Sounds great.
Now, obviously, work seriously. If people want to track your books down, where do you recommend they go?
Amazon's probably the best. It's on all online retailers. I always say realtors, retailers, especially in the UK, because I'm not sure what all you have, but it's on Apple and all the online retailers.
Brilliant. Yeah. I've been looking at Amazon today and can certainly see it there. And they'll be around other places as well. So it's been great fun this today, Sophia. So everybody hang around because we're going to hear a bit of one of Sophia's books next. Loved it. Thank you again, Sophia. So we will see you
Thank
all
you so much, Andy.
in two shakes of the dice.